Hello, now we're going to continue on with our work in factors and in natural numbers by looking at the highest common factor between two numbers. So we already know that a factor is a number that divides into another number evenly. And now we're going to look for the biggest number, the highest number that divides into two numbers. Again, this becomes a lot clearer when we look at an example. So here are our first two numbers, 15 and 10. The highest common factor of 15 and 10 is going to be the largest number that divides into both of them. The largest number, the highest number that divides into both 15 and 10. So that means we're looking for the highest common factor. Because again, factors are numbers that divide into other numbers. So we can do this, we say by inspection. You know what the factors of 15 are and you know what the factors of 10 are. So what numbers divide into both of them. So without having to do very much work, you can probably figure out that the highest common factor is going to be 5. The highest common factor of 15 and 10 is 5. But if we get to bigger numbers, that might not be as clear. So we need a method that we can use to figure out what the highest common factor, what the biggest number is that divides into two numbers. And we're going to look at how to do that for any two numbers that we're concerned about, or even more than two numbers. So let's have a look at 15. The method we're going to use is to find the prime factors of both numbers and then compare what prime factors they have in common, and then multiply together the common factors to get the highest common factor. So let's put this into practice. We're going to find the prime factors of both numbers. So prime factors of 15. We look for our prime factors again. I'm going to write up my list of prime factors. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and so on. That group continues on. That's a set that continues on forever. Our prime factors I've written in blue there. So now I'm going to try and divide in the smallest prime factor that I can. Well, the smallest one is 2, which doesn't work. I'm not able to divide that in and get a nice whole number. So my next attempt is going to be dividing in 3. So if I divide 3 into 15, I get 5. And then if I look again, 2 doesn't go in, 3 doesn't go in, 5 goes into 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. So those are my two prime factors of 15, 3 and 5. Let's go through the same process with 10. So if we have 10, what's the smallest prime number that divides into 10? The smallest prime factor is going to be 2. So 2 divided by 10, 10 divided by 2, my apologies, is going to be 5, and then 5 divided by 5 is going to leave me with 1. So I am left then with 2 and 5 as my prime factors of 10. So again, we've found the prime factors of both numbers. Now let's have a look here and see which ones are common. Well, 3 isn't in both groups. 5 is, 2 is not. So 5 is the only common factor between the two of them. So it ends up being, without having to do any extra work, the highest common factor. But often there will be multiple common factors in common. There will often be multiple factors in common. And we're going to look at an example of that here. So again, we could probably figure out the highest common factor of 15 and 10 just by looking at the numbers. But certainly I can't figure out what the highest common factor, the biggest number that is going to divide into 36 and 84. I'd need my method to figure out what that was going to be. So let's figure that out together. So we're going to start with exactly the same method, 36, and let's find out what its prime factors are. So again, to compare the factors of these numbers, we're going to get the prime factors of each. So 36, I'm going to use my prime numbers. What's the smallest prime number that divides into 36? It's going to be 2. So I divide 36 by 2 and I get 18. I divide 18 by 2 because that's the smallest prime factor the prime number that it divides in, and I get 9. 2 doesn't divide into 9, so what's the next prime number? 3, and 3 does divide into 9. It divides in 3 times, and then 3 divided by 3 is going to get me down to 1. So my prime factors of 36 are 2, 2, 3, 6. Sorry, 2, 2, 3, 3. If I multiply all of those numbers together, I will get 36 back. Now, let's do the same process with 84. Smallest prime number that divides into 84 is 2, and we get 42 out. Smallest number that divides into prime number that divides into 42 is 2, and we get 21. Smallest number or prime number that divides into 21 is 3, and we get 7. Smallest prime number that divides into 7 is 7, and we're left with 1, where we stop. So we list out those prime numbers again: 2, 2, 3, and 7. Now this time, if we compare our lists, we have lots more common factors between our two lists. So let's have a look at them. And do as I'm doing, actually underline your common ones. So 2 is in both lists. There's another 2 in both lists. There's a 3 in both lists. There isn't another 3, and there isn't a 7. So the 3 here and the 7 here are not common to both. So let's list out our common factors, our common prime factors. The common prime factors are going to be 2, 2, and 3. Those are our common prime factors between 36 and 84. So if we multiply them together, remember we use brackets now for multiply, not our x's that we might have used before. And if we do that, we get 2 by 2 is 4. So we've multiplied our stuff on the left together, and that has become 4. And now we multiply 4 by 3 is 12. So the highest common factor between 36 and 84 is 12. So it is the highest common factor. So 12 is the largest number that divides into 36 and also divides into 84. It's the biggest number that divides into both of those numbers. That's the highest common factor. So the name tells you exactly what it is. Highest, it's the biggest. Common, it divides into both. And factor, it's a divisor. It divides in the numbers. So that is our idea of our highest common factor. Our steps are, and we can write them down, get our prime factors, compare the common factors, and then multiply those common factors together. I'm going to write that down for you and then we'll finish. So here we have our 3 steps. We're going to get the prime factors of each number we want to get the highest common factor of, write down the common factors, and multiply them together in order to get the highest common factor. And if we follow those steps, we'll always be able to get the highest common factor of any numbers.